What's good, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They are the go-to for digital music distribution and the easiest way for musicians to get their music onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, and more. They offer unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of their earnings, getting your music onto platforms and into stores 10 to 20 times faster than any other distributor. They help with cover song clearance, automatic splits, and they offer all kinds of tools and templates to help you get the most visibility for your releases. I dig this company and appreciate their business model that offers more features and tools than any other distributor while doing it at the most affordable price for solo artists, bands, DJs, studio artists, and any other creators that are making music or producing music in their home, and they offer label services as well. They've got 3 different tiers that they offer to creators that start as low as $22.99 a year. That's just $1.92 a month. And even their top tier is only $7.50 per month. And the best part about DistroKid sponsoring the podcast is they are offering Dan Cable Presents listeners 30% off their first year of service with DistroKid, making their affordable prices even cheaper for you. I will put that discount link in the episode notes. It will also be in my Instagram bio. Big shout out to DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast for more than 3 years now. Much appreciated. Now let's get into the episode.
Looking down at the corner,
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dan Cable Presents podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the program. Once again, if this is your first time listening, thanks for checking out the show. You can find fresh episodes coming at you on Tuesdays. And if you want to help support this thing in a free way, you can do so by clicking subscribe on iTunes, clicking write a review, giving the podcast 5 stars if you feel like it is deserving of so. And that will help propel this thing into the tops of those iTunes charts, giving it more visibility on the national and international levels, helping strangers find the podcast. Just a great way to contribute to the growth and sustainability of this thing. Appreciate the hell out of all the folks that have already taken the time to do so. If you're not listening on Apple, just hit like, follow, subscribe wherever you are listening from. Tell a friend about the podcast. Word of mouth. That's always the best thing to do. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit subscribe there. And I think that's all the things. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Stoked to be presenting to you episode 472 of the podcast. We got Portland-based turntablist, the magician on the turntables, just an incredible scratcher. Celly is on the podcast. So stoked to have finally gotten Celly on the mics. I've been getting to see this dude perform for, I don't know, the last 5 years or so around the city. And he's just really incredibly talented and gifted at what he does. And clearly just a dude that has put so much time into the craft, and it was just an absolute pleasure to get to run through his history and get some context for where he came up and just how he got in to jumping on the turntables and learning how to scratch and getting to the point where he is at now, which is just so absolutely next level, whether he's doing it solo or he's scratching on people's records. He also plays in this really cool live hip-hop band called Rose Tinted, which a bunch of homies play in, including former guest of the podcast, Meltzer, who is one of Celly's close collaborators. So, this was just a really cool conversation. Hope you enjoy it out there. If you're interested in jumping on turntables and learning how to scratch, I think Celly is probably a great resource to get into that world, and hopefully this conversation is inspiring for you. We're going to share some clips throughout this episode. If you're listening or you're watching, you'll see some clips of Celly's performances from the most recent Skratcher competition, which he fucking won. He is the Skratcher Champion of 2025. Just some really impressive stuff. I highly encourage you to check out the videos. Like I said, I'll share some clips, but you should definitely check out the full videos. And there's also a really cool podcast where they do the deep dive with some of the competitors of the Skratcher competition. So tap in with that stuff. I'll put the links in the episode notes. And also, we talk about it a bit in this conversation, but Celly is the head of Skratcher Portland, which is this event where a bunch of DJs, turntablists come out. There's a bunch of setups all around over at Platinum Sound in downtown Portland, and it's just kind of open to people to roll in. He does it like couple times a year. I just got to go to the most recent one, and it was just like really cool to watch people just kind of responding to one another, and just kind of this community building event, and perhaps a place where somebody gets to see people scratching for the first time, or someone that's maybe interested in getting on the turntables and doesn't really know where to start. It's a great place to do that as well. So highly encourage you to keep up with Skratcher Portland. Before we jump into this episode, I also want to just make it known and share some information that's a friend of the music community here in Portland, in LA, Baraka, aka FrankieJaxNomad, who is the homie. I've only met him a handful of times, but he's pretty close friends with my cousin. And when he was moving up to Portland not that long ago, my cousin was like, "Hey, this dude FrankieJaxNomad's moving up. You gotta like keep up with him. He's really dope and makes really cool music. Just a really cool dude, really good dude." And unfortunately, about a week ago, he was picked up by ICE, and they are holding him in a detention center up in Tacoma, Washington. I'm going to put the GoFundMe link in the episode notes. Luckily, the GoFundMe is doing splendidly, and lots of people are showing support, which is really great. But dude needs, representation to get him out of there. And I believe they're still taking letters up there. If you want to write a letter just to speak on his behalf and why it's important that he gets out of there, you can do that. So I'm going to put all that information there. Tron, former guest of the podcast, Old Grape God, made these really dope hats, that the free FrankieJaxNomad hats. I'm trying to get one of those, and that money goes to supporting getting him out of there. And I just know that the community has been rallying around. I just saw this dude perform in a basement like 3 weeks ago, and it's so fucking it's so frustrating to see this dude get picked up for no reason. And it was clearly like this targeted thing. He was just trying to get some groceries. He was trying to be out and about. You might have seen or met Baraka working the door at like Mississippi Studios or Polaris Hall, or performing music around town. So just wanted to send my thoughts to him. Been thinking about Baraka a lot, and I just hope we can get him out of this mess soon. But inspiring to see the community rallying around. So free FrankieJaxNomad, fuck ICE, and we're going to get into episode 472. Hope you enjoy this conversation with Celly. All the links will be in the episode notes, and we're going to get into things by sharing a little bit of his performance from that Skratcher 2025 championship. One more quick note: on June 21st, A Beat Happening, you can see Celly perform there live. A Beat Happening is this really cool organization that has been putting on monthly events for like the last 9 years, based out of Portland. I've had both of the organizers, Love Jones and Free Tillman, on the podcast prior, and the episode that follows this will be another episode with them together, which is cool, and we'll be talking about the 9-year celebration and just kind of the evolution of a beat happening. So really stoked to share that episode as well, and also just a great opportunity for you to see the man of the hour, Celly, do some live performance. So tap in with that, and let's do the damn thing.
Manage all that.
She curious at all about like what you got going on with your music setup?
Yeah, she was honestly more curious when she was smaller. Like she'd come down and I'd be like, here, like, I'd just have like a bunch of sounds on or something. Be like, here, boop this thing and it'll make some cool. Here's an arpeggiator. So you just press one key and all of a sudden a bunch of stuff is happening. So she would come down and like boop around on the things. And then even at a certain point was like, hey, Dad, I want to try to scratch.
Yeah.
But lately, in the last couple of years, she's not that interested. Yeah. Like she's stoked. Like, if I tell her I'm doing something or I'm playing a show or, got this Skratcher of the Year award or whatever, she's like, I'm telling all my friends about it. So that's cool. It's like, oh my God, thank you.
And they're like, what? He does what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my whole life has been explaining that to people.
Well, I mean, I feel like this is that you're gonna do a whole lot of that here.
For
I
sure.
hope,
Absolutely.
I'm hoping to kind of dumb it down a little bit, even for myself. It's like, I don't know. It's like I have some sort of like vague understanding of like what you're doing. I had a friend in high school, like when we were in high school, who got like into turntablism. I remember when he got his setup, and we would like watch some of these kind of like these VHS tapes of competitions, maybe like some mixed master mic in there, and
some DMC videos and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But like, what was your entry point into making music? Like, was it turntablism?
It was more, I guess, just enjoying, like, being interested in music.
Okay.
Let's see, the beginning. We'll take it way back, but yeah. Before, and my little brother, or younger brother now, he's not so little. Anyway, we were always kind of into music. We had a friend early on that we met named Lafa Taylor, who lived down the street from us in Eugene. He ended up becoming a super dope musician as well. But anyway, we all just kind of nerded out on music. Like he kind of introduced us to more hip hop stuff. So that was kind of where we were like emulating artists and stuff, and so that was kind of the earliest beginning, and that's like, I don't know, age 5, 6, whatever. But yeah, fast forward maybe like middle school, like 7th, 8th grade, we were both kind of getting more into like hip hop stuff. I was like nerding out on the underground hip hop, probably through like seeing like skate videos and snowboard videos I was watching with my friends, and like I heard a lot of like dope music I wanted to like look into from that, where like I don't remember any of the names of those classic videos, but again, this is, like 1997 or so.
Yeah, definitely like.
But that was a big way that music was like put out there back then.
Yeah, and definitely like finding stuff that was like more underground.
Exactly, like I mean, hearing like Souls of Mischief or like some DJ Shadow stuff or things that I didn't fully get at the time. Early Black Alicious. Yeah. Stuff that, we heard and we were like, wow, we love this. We're into this. So that sparked that interest.
I mean, even I feel like the Tony Hawk soundtrack is a lot of people's like entry point into maybe things that were more underground, whether it was like punk or hip hop.
100%. Yeah. And we were playing that too. I don't remember the year that came out, but yeah, whenever the first one came out, we were on that.
Yeah. I think skate videos and like snowboard videos and surf videos, like any of that stuff is like still, even if I watch those things on YouTube, I always hear new music or like, music that is new to me that I'm like, oh, like Siri, what is this?
Right.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's always been a cool venue for like, you have a
I don't know the name of it.
That's fucking with people, whoever's listening too,
right? Their home things going off.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool because you have this like central different interest of whatever the sport, and then you have almost like a mixtape of like whoever made the videos like playing the music that they like, or at least maybe it was more like that back then. But yeah, so that was kind of that drew us more into hip hop, the hip hop world, if you will.
Yeah.
My brother was starting to get into, we were like interested in production. So we were like trying to figure out even how to make beats. We got some program called Hip Hop EJ, which was like a very early music, like not actual for production, but it was like you just put loops together that were pre-made.
Like, does that predate even Fruity Loops, or is that around the same era?
I mean, they may have been out simultaneously, and I do remember a friend of mine getting an early version of Fruity Loops around then. But yeah, it was a similar time, late 90s. And anyway, that was like, oh, we can see how you start to put the beats together. So that led to him kind of being interested in that. At a certain point, someone like lent us a turntable, like not even a DJ turntable, just like a phonograph that their parents had given them or something. And we just like hooked it up. We didn't even know what to hook it up to. We eventually got it plugged into the TV, like where we put the PlayStation in, just the RCA ports there, because we were like, where the red white cables go? Anyway, then we were like, we had like one record, so we were just messing around with it. And that kind of sparked my I like messing with sound is kind of interesting to me. And then, not long later, I went down to it was called Musician's Friend, I think, in Eugene, and was just checking it out. And there was a DJ that worked there, and he was like, hey, you want a little demo? I was like, sure. And he, just busted out like a pretty dope, I don't remember exactly what he did, but he was did a little live mix. He even had a drum machine sequencer there, and he did like a live remix.
Okay.
Which at that time I didn't even realize how kind of advanced that was. It was really cool. But yeah, that kind of sold me. I was like, damn, this looks fun. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this stuff, but I like the idea of playing with sound.
Yeah.
So a big shout to DJ Smooth, Bobby Green from Eugene, who, he's still out there doing it. But yeah, he kind of sparked it for me. And then from there, I think I lobbied my parents to try and save up $200 between what I had saved and maybe a birthday and a Christmas, all the things. I was like, can I get this DJ in a box? And it was like a full set in a box of turntables, mixer, needles, headphones from Newmark. Everything was blue.
Yeah.
And I got my hands on that, and then and just started from that's the very beginning.
What did cutting your teeth kind of look like in developing some sort of skill? Was it even something that was I don't know, did you feel like you had some natural inclination for getting around on this thing? Because I remember when my buddy first got his setup, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so fun and so sick, and I was just like, this is so hard.
This is hard. Yeah, exactly. I did not. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I didn't have any friends that were. I didn't know any other DJs.
Yeah.
The internet was not there yet with any sort of tutorials.
Yeah, you couldn't hit YouTube.
I don't know. It didn't exist, you know? And so what I did was, this guy DJ Smooth that showed me the stuff, he was like, hey, when I think I went back and bought the stuff another time. Anyway, but I talked to him and I was like, what do I do? How do I start? He's like, you go down to the record store, go to the break section, get some dirt style records, get some DJ Rectangle records, and then start from there. And I was like, okay. And those original or old break records, it's like scratch sounds and then a beat and then scratch sounds. So you put one on one side, play a beat, put a scratch sound sentence on the other side, and just kind of go through it. That's where I started. And again, I didn't really know what to do. And so I just was downloading stuff off Napster, or whatever, at the time, getting, I knew a few names like DJ Qbert or Rectangle or people that were on these break records.
Okay.
So I kind of searched for them and then listened to their stuff. And those guys already were doing crazy shit. So that was inspiring, but I didn't have any sort of guidance. So I just kind of played around with it.
Yeah.
On my own, a lot, basically.
And were you then limited to whatever records you had, opposed to now?
Yeah, this is long before the DVS, digital vinyl systems, that exist nowadays. So I don't remember the year Serato came out, but this was way before that. And even by the time that was a thing, I didn't adopt it until way later. So yeah, it was all vinyl. And I was 12 or 13. I didn't have any extra money. I was not out record shopping all the time. You know? So I had my 5 records that I bought, and I just did what I could with those. I would go get more records here and there, but
Yeah.
I was not trying to like necessarily play out right away. Like I wasn't like, oh, I need a big vinyl collection of all the music.
Yeah.
I was just kind of nerding out on the scratch stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Unintentionally having some sort of creative parameters for like
Exactly.
what you had, like
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah, and it was limited. It was only the beats that were on these vinyls. It was only the sounds that were on there. And so, yeah, I was just playing around with it. And like, I had a mini disc player that I got a little while before that, and I would record. That's the first thing I recorded myself on. So I would, like, routed the output from the mixer into that, and would record little like me scratching over a beat. And like, man, at that time, I mean, I think one of the records had like South Park samples on it. So I'm like scratching South Park samples, and I bring it to school and like play it for people, and they'd be like, "Wow, this is crazy! What are you doing?" So yeah, that was the very, very beginning. But it was Eugene, man. There was nobody. I mean, I'm sure there were some other DJs there, but I was a freshman, sophomore in high school. I didn't meet any other people like at my school that were doing it. So. Yeah, for the first, 3 years, I was just kind of doing my own thing, showing it to my friends.
Yeah.
And like explaining it to their parents, because they were like, "What the hell are you doing with turntables, dude?" But yeah, eventually I got on like a online web forum for scratchers that I think Qbert had started early on. And then through that randomly met another person who lived in, he wasn't in Springfield yet. Anyway, he lived in Eugene. But he was like an adult, I was like 15. He was like in his mid 20s or something. And I was like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to go over to this guy's house," and like way out in this, West Eugene. And they're like, "Who the hell's this guy? He's living on his own. You're going to his house?" But they were cool with it, and he was cool. And yeah, so he kind of introduced me to the small community of the Eugene kind of DJ nerds.
That was the first time you got to like see someone else kind of
Yeah.
as outside of the dude at the music store who kind of
100%.
put you on.
Exactly. Aside, I had gotten a hold of some VHSs of scratching. Qbert and the Scratch Pickles and those guys had what they called turntable TV, and it was kind of like the skate snowboard videos of that time, only it was for scratching. So it was like them scratching and then like them doing some funny skits and shit, or just like fucking around while they were on tour or whatever. And it was those just like chopped together, and they were super entertaining, and they'd have guests and sick performances. So that was a big like influence on me. I'd watch those and be like, okay, I want to try and scratch like that or whatever.
Yeah. Did you become pretty obsessed with it pretty early on, like once you got into it?
Yeah, I'd say so. I was very into it. And, I feel like at that time, just in life, high school times, like you have more free time, I guess, in terms of like, if you want to get into something like that. I wasn't a kid that was like playing all the sports and in all the clubs. I was just like kicking it with my friends and doing shit. So yeah, I went from like, and I still, enjoyed video games. I was like playing a lot of video games. Then all of a sudden I was like coming home from school and just scratching or like messing with the turntables or whatever, like mixing some records together.
Yeah.
And especially once I kind of got over the hump of like the beginning, because it is really hard to manipulate records with your hands and like get that limb independence where you're like, you really are doing two different things with your hands, but they sync up, and it's, it's like playing any instrument. So it took a while to get more comfortable. But then once it became a little more fun, yeah, I was doing it all the time.
Yeah. What do you feel like maybe like helped you kind of like stick with it and get through maybe the really difficult part where maybe it wasn't so fun?
Absolutely. I think just like the newness, the excitement of it, I wanted to get better at it. And I feel like once it was, I'm sure it's like that with any instrument you're learning, but like I heard scratching before, I kind of understood, I had an idea what was happening when you heard just like the jip-a-jip, in a song. But once I started trying to do it, all the scratching I'd heard or started to listen to, I understood so much more how like hard it was to do and do well. And that like created this whole other like appreciation for that world that like I just wanted to listen to that music. I wanted to find hip hop that had the DJ cut in the chorus, or whatever, any mixtape or whatever I could get my hands on. So at that time I'd be down at the CD store like looking at whatever music had come out and try to find something, and then obviously stealing a lot of it on the internet because that was quite easy at that time. But yeah, that kept me going, just like the incremental improvements you know, and just having fun with it. Like there was no pressure to do anything in particular, you know?
Yeah. You didn't have to make a video to throw up on
No,
Instagram.
it wasn't like, oh, I need to get more followers right now.
Yeah.
No, it's like that. Thankfully, that was not even a thought in my head, obviously. So yeah, it was more just like, I'm interested in this. And I was like DJing parties for my friends
okay.
a bit here and there, but I wasn't like, oh, I need to go get into the, you know, the club or something. That was never really, I was very like underground with it. I was just super nerdy. So
probably one of the only people that your friends knew that had turntables to be able to even like
Absolutely.
DJ a party of any sort.
exactly. I mean, I think out of all the kids in our entire high school at that time, there was like one other kid that had some turntables, and I don't think he even was like scratching.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I, you know, it wasn't like I was like the cool DJ kid. I was just kind of the nerdy kid who happened to do this as well.
Had some records.
Yeah, and
you
had
know.
some records. And like, yeah, I mean, I do cool little DJ sets. I bring my mini disc player so I could play some other stuff that I didn't have on vinyl, but I'd also have, after a couple years, I'd accumulated some music that I would play out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like, you know, only a handful of times I did like house parties with my friends, but it was
Yeah.
fun for sure.
So was there never like a big interest in more of like the actual like DJing side of things versus, you know, actually like learning the craft of scratching and figuring out how you could like make music with other people?
Right. Yeah, I wasn't that interested in DJing. You know what I'm saying? Like it seemed cool, but again at that time I was like intimidated because I was like, wow, I need to go spend $400 on records that I definitely don't have. You know, I'm like barely affording saving up all year for like this other turntable that I want, you know, or whatever. So that I think that slowed me down at that time, just being in high school, not having any money. And then when I was older too, like I had friends who were DJing the clubs, and it just, I don't know, I was so like underground to a fault that like it felt cheesy, or like, even though it wasn't, I mean, they're out there, they're making money, they're doing their thing, but it was like, it never really, whatever, checked the box for me where I was like excited about it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did it here and there, but yeah, I wasn't like trying to get that residency at the bar once I could or whatever. It just, just wasn't what I was interested in. I definitely like honed in more on the musical side of it and like the scratch nerd situation.
Did you kind of quickly grow out of that initial setup that you bought? Like, were there limitations there where you're like, oh, I gotta get a new mixer? Or
Yeah, pretty quickly that setup came with a legendary cheap mixer from Newmark called the Blue Dog, because everything was blue in the DJ in a box. But yeah, the fader on that, I don't even remember how quickly, but pretty quickly, you know, when faders start to fail, they get staticky and it just starts to sound shitty. And so that would happen. I think I replaced it. You know, I went and maybe got another fader, but I replaced that a couple times, like pretty quickly. And I was like, I need to like get a new mixer.
Yeah.
Or I'd see all the videos of all the dope DJs using all this sick like Vestex equipment, you know, and I'd be like, damn, I want that. So yeah, I don't remember the exact timeline, but you know, I had that set up for a while. And then at some point, I saved up enough money to get another mixer, and then a turntable, and then I sold most of the first stuff to like some dude who drove down from Portland. And so it slowly evolved, but I was never like, oh, I can afford to get a whole new two 1200s and a Vestex 05 or whatever. It was like one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Painfully working all summer, like
Frankensteining a setup together.
I bought a mixer on early eBay.
Okay.
I was very excited about it. I like saved up all my money, and it showed up, and it just didn't work.
Oh, brutal.
I was so sad.
No way to get that money back.
No, and it was early eBay, so there was no there was no protection or repercussion, or they're like, well, you can contact him, and I'm like, yeah, well, he ignoring
doesn't care.
me, and he's not gonna fucking email me back, and it's 2000 is the year 2000. And there's no, he's just disappeared.
He's in
my
the
money.
early scam world of the internet.
Yeah, so I got
selling.
scammed, and that sucked because I was, you know, that was a mixer I'd saved up for, and I was like, oh, I can get it slightly cheaper on eBay, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
I did recoup a little bit of money because that was apparently one that like Mixmaster Mike owned or something.
Okay.
So it had some signatures on it and some like value in that way. So I sold it to another person eventually who wanted to fix it and then have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sucked. And that held me back for a little while. But yeah, eventually got the mixer that I wanted, and yeah, had a good, decent setup. And yeah, it was on from there.
So through that older dude that you met,
Yeah.
were you able to like go out and actually see people perform in some way, or like would the tours that maybe like, you know, the Scratch Pickles,
You know, they
like,
didn't actually, those guys didn't come to Eugene
or Portland or anything like that?
You know, I certainly wasn't like going out much to places where DJs were playing like in high school.
Yeah, right.
But there was a particular one that was a big kind of like turning point. So like the message boards I mentioned, that was like a big way that people communicated and like networked or whatever back then in those worlds.
Yeah.
And so once I like met another person in my city through there, I was like, oh, this is the way to connect with people. And so I was like on those. There were different ones, other ones popped up, but I was on those a lot in that time, and that's how I connected with a lot of people. D Styles, one of the invisible Scratch Pickles, but the GOAT, one of my favorite of all time. He had a message board that was like it was like a hub, a cultural hub for the Scratch world.
Okay.
And at a certain point, I would just, anytime I went anywhere with my family, I would just put up a message on there and be like, yo, I'm going to be in Boston. Who's out there cutting? Who wants to scratch? And I got in this thing where I would like, when I travel places, and again, I'm like 16, 17, 18 with my family. And then I just like jet off and go to like some scratch session at some rando's house. And that was really fun. And like I connected with people through that. But then one time we were going to California for spring break, and I was like, I know there's a lot of scratchers down there. Let's like reach out. And so I did that. This dude hit me up and he was like, hey, let's have a session. I was like, cool. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, last time we had a session, D Styles actually came over and cut with us. And I was like, no fucking way, dude. That's crazy. And he's like, yeah, you should hit him up. Maybe he'll come through. And I was like, okay. And just like, you know, I think he gave me his email or whatever. And I sent him a message. I was like, hey, I'm going to be at this guy's house. You want to like show up or whatever? And he was like, oh, why don't you guys just come over to my house? And I was like, what? And yeah, so fast forward to like, you know, the next month, and like, yeah, got to go to his house and studio in outside of LA. I brought my brother with me, and yeah, it was amazing. It was like, that was a really like formative, mind expanding evening. Cause he was like living in this sick ass house. He had this giant ill studio, and I was like, damn, D's fucking killing it. This is sick. But then like we got to scratching, and like the people that were there and scratching, everybody was doing more like a musical jam. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just everybody, you know, going crazy trying to show off. It was like, oh, let's like conversate with these sounds we have, and let's try to, you know, make more, you know, it was just much more musical and like flowy and conversational than I'd ever seen. And that was really cool. And that was like the trend that those guys were on at that time, but they were just, you know, not everybody else was doing it. So I got a very interesting like inside look at that, and that just like totally expanded my mind of what I thought was possible with the turntable.
Yeah.
So
is that, I don't know, somewhat, does that resemble maybe somewhat of like what I saw for the Scratcher event
Sure,
that
exactly.
you put on?
That's a
over
form
at
of that,
Platinum
yeah.
Sound, where it's just like,
Yep.
you know, it didn't really feel like anybody was like really trying to necessarily just like, I don't know, flex on it, on
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah, I mean, and you get different versions of that. But yeah, I guess what we're talking about is, you know, what is generally called like a Q&A session, right? So there's
Okay.
like a constant beat going, and you might have 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 people, who knows? But, you know, at this thing at D Styles' house, it was like 5 of us basically. And yeah, you just kind of go around and everybody, whatever, does something for 8 or 16 bars or whatever. And that was kind of the traditional scratch session
Okay.
setup. And yeah, that's like how Scratcher runs, right? But yeah, a lot of people, you know, would, I don't know, yeah, just try to show up and like flex and do the craziest stuff. And that's not like conducive to that just puts everybody kind of on the defensive, right? Like, oh, I need to like do something crazy on my turn, and you get all in your head. And I like it a lot more when it's just like a sharing of ideas and like a more of a conversation than everybody like shouting at each other.
Yeah,
You know,
like a jazz jam,
Exactly.
where people are playing tastefully instead of just like
100%.
also trying to flex on people that you see like maybe
Yeah.
at a
and at
open
that
jam
time too,
sometime.
like all those guys that were like the top dudes at the time were like, there was all these references to jazz. It was like, we're doing it kind of like the jazz players. We're taking, we're making it more musical. So yeah, and that all leads up to like that happened. And then a month later they had what was called the Bastard Language Tour, which was a live like scratch music performance by Ned Hoddings, which was a group that D Styles was in, the Ricky Rucker, XS, Mike Boo, and Toadstyle. And it was like at that time, those guys were like the fucking, I mean, they still are, some of the dopest to ever do it, and very creative. So that was really cool. And that was a live musical performance, all performed on turntables.
Okay.
And that came to Eugene, which my buddy who I met on the boards kind of like orchestrated and got them to come to Eugene. And then like nobody showed up to the show. And the only reason I got to go because I like hit up the openers who I knew. And I was like, let me perform with you because I'm 18 and this is at a bar and I have to be at the show. And so I was able to get into the show. And again, that was just like another like level up in terms of like musical inspiration. I think it's all on YouTube or whatever, but they made a DVD of the performance. Anyway, super cool, timeless, amazing music. But those were a couple of things like right about, I was like just turned 18 that
Yeah.
really, really like blew my mind and like was like, okay, there's a lot more to this than just like scratching South Park sounds.
Yeah.
You can take drums and a bass line and a synth and whatever and have 5 people doing it live all together. And it's some wild, live music. It's cool.
It's an ensemble.
Exactly. Yeah. So there had been versions of that before, but that one to me was extra special. One, because I got to see it live, and 2, because the music they were making was just really cool. So
Yeah. How cool that D Styles was like accessible like that.
that was wild to me.
Like that the thing was, he's obviously like big in that world at
For
that
sure.
time,
Yeah.
but it's also like this very underground thing. And, just the way message boards operated at that time as well,
100%.
It's very cool that you got to have that sort of experience to not only, just like see what he was doing, but get to do it alongside him.
Yeah, and
in
like
some
we
way.
became friends. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like now I've known him for almost 30 years, and it's like that was crazy to me because for many years there, before I met anybody or whatever, like I was idolizing all these people, and he really was like, and still is like the Jimi Hendrix of the turntable. He is the fucking goat of goats.
Yeah.
And so to have him just invite me into his home, just off like an email, basically, was wild.
What about no pun intended, but
Yeah.
like what about his style in particular maybe spoke to you at that
Sure.
your formative time of doing this? Like when you say he's your guy, like
Yeah.
what about his style was like kind of spoke to you maybe?
I think in the scratch world it's kind of referred to as like funkiness or the funk, it's so you can be very technical and you can do all kinds of cool shit, but when you like put a lot more funk on it, that's the stuff that I like gravitate towards more.
Yeah.
And so at that time and a little before that, there was a lot like Qbert and D Styles. They were a pair and they were doing a lot of stuff. And really like the dopest in the world they were doing when they would get together and cut, because they were just like on this other level. When Qbert was a little more like technical and would do more kind of crazy stuff, and D Styles was capable of those things, but always just put this flow and funk on it that was so dope and very precise and technical when he wanted to be. But yeah, just his approach to it, I was always drawn to that. And then he really leaned into, Qbert made a super dope thing called Wave Twisters in the late 90s, which you may have seen, but it's like it was an album and then they made an animated movie from it. That's really interesting. And then D Styles made his scratch album called Phantasmagoria, which came out, I think, in the year 2000. And that is a whole album where the music is all created with scratching. And so, every element is, manipulated with scratching. And that's before Serato or anything. So it's all vinyl samples that he dug up. And yeah, that's a pretty incredible album. And so, yeah, just hearing all that, yeah, it was like I just want to be like that
Yeah.
guy, you know.
Little more feel.
Yeah, his approach was just so fucking cool and unique, and I don't know, it really grabbed my ears and attention for sure.
Yeah. I'm curious to know like what you think, like, or I guess maybe like what your route was in carving out something that you felt like maybe was unique. Because
Sure.
like I don't know, do you feel like with turntablism that it's kind of hard to carve out a unique
Yeah.
sound? Or I don't know, do you feel like it's, I know you're not like a guitar virtuoso or something, or like,
Sure.
you know, but like, I don't know, it feels maybe like it's for from the outside perspective, if maybe seems like it's like different to carve out your own sound with scratching versus
Yeah.
the way, you know, maybe someone carves out their own sound on guitar or drums or
Right. You know, I think it's, you know, you certainly can over time like develop your own style, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of scratching. And I think, you know, mostly it's like other scratchers who can recognize the differences. You know, like people who don't listen to scratching, I'm sure you can hear bad scratching and you're like, oh God, it's like all offbeat and weird. And there's a certain threshold where it's like, it's decent. And it, you know, it's just like someone who doesn't, again, back to guitars, like I don't fully understand everything going on in a guitar performance, you know?
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I can tell when someone's really good at it. But like, can I spot the subtle differences between the best of the best? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it all works, and that's fine. But yeah, in terms of like getting your own sound, I think it's just time and like intention with it, I guess. Because some people, I'd say, scratch a little more robotically. You know, it's like, okay, I just do like this scratch and then this scratch and then this scratch, and then I'm like done with my little part and I go back to my mixing. And I don't know. I kind of came from the world where, yeah, you wanted to do what you could to make yourself stand out, or at least like have your own style. And again, like scratching, it's really just a record back and forth and a fader on and off. So you can only do so many different movements and stuff. It is important what sound you're using, but that's kind of the magic of it. Is it's like, it's simple, but it can be so complex. How you leverage that to make your sound unique or identifiable to other people. Everybody kind of has their own different approach. I don't know. I just kind of leaned into what I like to hear.
yeah.
And that's slowly over time kind of created my own style with it, I guess.
Yeah. How far into it did you get before you felt like you had developed maybe your own style or approach to the thing?
Yeah. I feel like a couple years in, by the time I was on that message board, there were like already like online battles or whatever that like post up a file of you scratching. And I just remember doing that, and like, you know, people even at that time were like, oh, you're kind of funky or whatever, you know. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. you know, like,
yeah.
And so not that was anywhere, you know, near the getting really good at it or whatever, but that was like the first taste of like, okay, like you can have your own unique approach to this, even if it, whatever, can sound pretty generic to a lot of folks. So yeah, that was like the first taste. And then, yeah, I mean, that whole kind of thing about going to D Styles' house and experiencing that concert, that really like showed me that like you can be so unique with it. And so that really caused me to kind of like lean into that whole world of, you know, while it is like making music with it, it's also like kind of almost a different approach to scratching, where it's more, you know, there's more manipulation of the pitch, which is like using the hand control. So your hand on the record, that's what changes the pitch and the direction, obviously. And that can add a lot of like personality to the cuts.
Yeah.
Where if you're just like back and forth and like hitting the fader crazy, like it'll sound like clicky and choppy or whatever
Right.
and fast, but it's just like an arpeggiator or something. It's not that exciting.
Yeah. I've gotten to, I don't know, over the last like maybe since like things opened up since COVID, I feel like I've gotten to see you perform in like some very different spaces, whether it's like with Rose Tinted with this live band, or I've gotten to see you a handful of times like scratch with different rappers performing, or like I saw you do this set with Spinach one time, or at least like a couple songs. Like you just seem to, I don't know, really do the thing tastefully and like it always like appears very effortlessly, which
thank you.
like is obviously, you know, you just you doing the thing for so long where you get to the point
a lot
where
of years,
like
yep.
you know where it does you just look like one of the musicians that like it's just like, oh my God, it's just like it's just in you, like it feels like, you
For
know,
sure.
where you can watch other people maybe do the thing and it does feel a little more robotic, even if they're like good at it. It's just
Right.
like, okay, like if it feels like they're
Where they're like really having to focus.
yes, yeah. And not to say that
Yeah.
you're not focusing, but
Sure.
it does appear to be more of like this flow state thing.
Definitely. I don't remember exactly when the point was, but yeah, there was a certain point, where I got a lot more comfortable with it. And yeah, I didn't have to like focus on what I was doing as much, and I could listen more to what was going on. But I mean, I still work on that. Playing with Rose Tinted and that band has been really amazing. Those guys are awesome. And so that's been a great experience, and just getting more comfortable in all kinds of live situations, mostly in terms of like reacting to whatever is coming at me. Cause we keep it, we have the songs we play or whatever, but they're only somewhat structured. So we go off on tangents all the time, and which is great and super fun. And so that always keeps me on my toes. And like, now we've been doing that periodically for 5 years or so now almost. So that's been really cool. I always have loved playing with live musicians, but yeah, I don't know. That's just my thing. I try to bring whatever, my unique voice to the situation, whether it's, hey, it's like, someone's just rapping and I'm going to jump up there and rip a solo, or we're doing Rose Tinted things and I'm like playing vocal choruses and, chopping things in a way where it's not, hey, I'm not trying to like show off crazy scratch solo. I'm doing like a tasteful manipulation of the sample.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the joys of it, is getting to that point where I'm comfortable up there. And I mean, I've been performing a long time. Like, my brother started making music, so I got turntables. He started making beats and rapping. And by the time he was in high school, we were doing shows. We were opening for people. He had a friend who was rapping too. So yeah, I did a lot of like opening hip hop shows at the Wow Hall back in high school and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, scratching in front of people. It took me a while to get more comfortable with it, but at a certain point I had a certain confidence. And honestly, like even early on, like there is this like thing where people don't really understand scratching. So you can get away with a lot. You know what I'm saying? You can't go up there and be like a half-assed keyboard player and like fuck the chords up and like the song's still good. But you can kind of go up and flub through some scratches, and most of the crowd, as long as it's not like insanely loud or abrasive, is gonna be like, oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah. It was like, oh, there was a live DJ.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he's scratching. So, I'm trying to lean on that, but there were times where I was a bit comforted, being like, okay, I'm not as prepared for this show or whatever, but I know that like it's, people aren't exactly gonna like catch me slipping necessarily, unless I like fuck up dropping the beat or whatever.
Yeah. I would imagine it was like pretty nice having that creative relationship with your brother, and having someone else in the
Absolutely.
house that was like making music, and maybe having those opportunities to perform live with somebody early on that you felt really comfortable with.
100%. And I was, more shy, nerdy kid, whatever. So I was doing it, but him and his friend were more out there. So they were out there like putting out music, trying to get shows, putting together concerts. And so they were out there and motivated in that way. And that, helped me join them on many performances, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, just at home. Exactly. I mean, he was learning to make beats and I was learning to scratch. And so for a while we had our stuff like in our bedrooms, and eventually it like all came together in the guest room, and we just took that shit over, and it was just like equipment everywhere and like CDs and floppy disks and shit.
Your parents are like, what happened to the guest room
It's
that
like we used to
had?
have a place where guests could stay, and now it's just like a trash room.
Your workshop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't even remember what we did with the guest bed whenever we took that spot over. But yeah, no, that was really cool. And, we continue to have obviously a good relationship, and watched him turn into an incredible musician and producer. So that's been a fun journey too. Absolutely.
Yeah. What is maybe like the difference when you are, cutting on like a recorded track for somebody? Like, there's there's a catalog of stuff that you've like jumped on and done some scratching versus maybe what you do with like Rose Tinted or like what you do for a solo performance. Like what are you trying to do there to like serve the song and maybe not like interfere with the vocal too much?
Sure. Yeah. Again, it just kind of depends on the situation. Like if it's a song for a rapper or somebody and they just want some cuts in the chorus. Yeah. I mean, that's, I kind of just see what's coming at me. You know what I'm saying? So with something like that, not always trying to like rip some crazy solo. And that's, again, kind of just been my approach to it the whole time is like, I'm not trying to necessarily like automatically impress you with the scratches. It's more like, hey, I just want to use it as an element of this music, have it, fit in a cohesive manner, but also it sounds kind of interesting because it's manipulated on a turntable. So that's kind of my approach. And then, I just work with people and see what they want,
Yeah.
If they want some crazy chopping at the end of their song, I'm super down. If they just want like a DJ Premier kind of chorus cuts, cutting a phrase up very simply, but, in a funky manner, absolutely. And then, with Rose Tinted, it's, we just kind of, depending on the song, we decide what to do and what's going to serve that song the best.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll just come up with some other shit and start doing something else. And they'll be like, yeah.
Those Q&A sessions, those early sessions, like really, I would imagine were helped inform like the way that you insert yourself and like learning to perform with others, especially when you get into like the Rose Tinted stuff.
Absolutely. And I was, I was in a band with some friends in high school too, but I was always interested in playing with other musicians. And then in college for a couple years, I was in this band that was like all these like super good dope musicians from the music school that were, and we just did kind of our own original kind of hip hop funk stuff. And that was super fun. And that was like playing wild college house parties and stuff. And we had a saxophone player and we had a cello at some point. So that was a really educational time for me where, I was figuring out how to fit in a situation like that, take a solo or just like, sit back. So I'm all about kind of, keeping it tasteful, keeping the little turntablism element in there, but it, again, doesn't have to be in your face. I can be chilling in the back playing a bass line or whatever. I'm happy to do that.
So you've been doing this like well over 20
Yeah, I mean, it started when I was
so.
like 12 or 13, and I just turned 41. So
okay, so you're 25 plus years into the thing. How has the technology changed and evolved, and like, how are you like still developing your skills now and like learning new things at this point?
Sure. Well, yeah, no, actually, I forgot something I was about to say to that other question. And this has to do with technology because like adapting to whatever situation, starting out with just a few records, one of the early pieces of advice was like, don't just scratch the sounds you want to scratch. Like just go through and every single sound you hit, try to do something with it. And that became like the fun challenge of scratching is like, how can I take this whatever sound and make it sound dope, over this beat or in this song or whatever. And so that was a practice that I just did forever, and that I think helped in all those live situations where it's like, hey, someone wants to record but they have this sample that's like, I don't know, it's not a good sample. How can I like use my abilities to bring the best out of it?
You like challenged yourself in that way and like and worked with something that maybe didn't speak to you, but you like found a way to
for sure
make it cool.
Well, in all those old scratch records, it's like little like whatever a yo and a word and a pump the bass, and it's like all these samples just right in a row, and so you can skip through and find your favorite ones. But if you really, I think Hubert said at some point, he was like, when we practice, we go through every sample and we try to make it dope. And I was like, damn, that's a cool way to like force yourself to, it's like, producers chopping a sample. It's like taking a sample that's like unchoppable or hard to get something out of and freaking it in a way that you get something musical that, you think is cool.
Or just like going through an entire record instead of just like using the one track that you thought maybe had the thing that you wanted to like chop up to sample or like make the cool thing. It's like, no, explore the whole thing.
Right. Well, and then now the tie-in with the technology question is like, now you can scratch any sound. You know, you can create your own sounds. You can, any audio file, you can just put, into Serato and scratch instantly, which is really cool. And a great like production tool. And that's like how I use it now a lot of times where, maybe I will use some other record or sample, but I'll like make a beat and then stem out the beat and then put those various elements on the turntable one at a time and like manipulate them back over the beat and then kind of bring in that scratched stuff and then remake the beat out of that,
So is like the biggest evolution in the technology like the mixers now, because it's like it's your mixer, but it's also like your sampling machine or your like drum machine kind of all in one.
Yeah, I mean, basically, because the turntable technology hasn't changed a whole lot, for a long time. I mean, the Technics 1200 still very solid turntable. There have been some advances over time that I could get into, but yeah, the DVS thing, Serato, Tractor, all those that have come out over the years, and a lot of them are tied to, they work through the mixer. The mixer's now an audio interface. Originally, it was like a breakout box you'd had to plug in. But yeah, I mean, I love it now. Like I have, a modern mixer and I can run like Serato and have like my performance of samples in there.
Yeah.
At the same time, I can run Ableton behind it, routed through the mixer, and have like a, performance tracks playing in that. So like the backing tracks. And even the other time I performed, I recorded it back into Ableton, and the same thing it was wild. I was like, I didn't even think you could do this. So modern computers and technology obviously make it way easier to do all kinds of complex stuff, which is, it's fun, but it's also, a blessing and a curse, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can just do anything or use any sound, and it's like, oh, ooh. Like it used to be kind of cool, comforting to be like, all right, I can only use these records I have because that's all I got. Find the dopest beat right now that I like and the best sample and like do something with that. So that's a fun challenge as well. But yeah, I've embraced technology in that way, especially now that like, and it's been a while that's been true, but like the latency got to a point where like the scratch performance didn't feel as affected. Early on, like, yeah, you'd have a lot of latency. So like, it's like if you're playing on a keyboard and like you hit the key and half a second later the sound happens, it like throws you way off if you're trying to perform. So same thing with scratching. It's such an immediate, relatively analog experience. If there's any latency, it's very obvious and it feels very strange. So
yeah,
the fact that that's gotten better and better over the years is great. And now I can do, complex scratch performances with any sound. And yeah, so I love that.
I get down. You know I get down. Get down.
I feel like for a long time, if I was seeing somebody, do it like scratching, there would always be like kind of this traditional, like 2 turntables, mixer in the middle.
Right.
Now, if I see you doing a performance, I'm usually just seeing 1 turntable,
right,
and a mixer.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when did that kind of change universally, or is that the common thing now?
It's easier now, just because you can have, and this has been true for a long time, like with Serato, is you can have your laptop and your mixer and 1 turntable and still essentially rock like a DJ set, because you can have an internal deck running the other track for the other side.
It's just unnecessary to have that other turntable.
So, and some people, like, obviously they like the visual of that. Some people like to manipulate both sides, which is great. And for me, if I'm just basically doing a scratch performance or like joining a rapper or a band or whatever, like, and I've done this for a very, very long time, but like 1 turntable and a mixer is enough,
Yeah.
Like if I need backing tracks, they can be through, I used to just plug my mini disc player in and play beats and scratch over it. And that was, that was kind of the early style, like the Scratch Nerd. You only needed one, but for me, for a while, like I only had one turntable that was good.
Yeah.
I bought that DJ in the box. Those were terrible. I sold them to get one turntable, and so for a while, I really actually only had a turntable and a mixer. Eventually, got another one, but yeah. And then like I moved into the dorms, at school, and I couldn't fit a full DJ setup in there, so I could barely fit my one turntable and mixer. Like I did all my computer work on my bed, because my desk was a Scratch setup.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for myself personally, yeah, that's been cool and fine, and I still enjoy DJing on 2 turntables. But yeah, for my like solo, whatever, more Scratch oriented performances, that's more than enough.
And like I don't know, when you're operating with the setup that you do now, like, is that like, what are the difference in the actual like records then at this point, like that you're scratching on, if like the beats that you're like either making or bringing in to the mixer are there, like what is actually like on those records then?
Well, yeah, so the way like DVS works is it is a physical record, and it has a special sound on it, a special tone, basically. So if you like turned off the DVS, the digital side of things, and just played that record, it's just like a woo kind of sound.
Okay.
But the way that it all works is that the software knows that sound so well, so it knows when there's any sort of fluctuation in pitch or direction, and that basically takes that and translates it live to whatever sound you're using on the computer. And that's just how, that stuff has worked forever, in terms of like Serato or whatever. So you see anybody performing on digital DJ stuff, like that's essentially how it works.
Okay.
Or, they're using phase now, which is a wireless technology. But yeah, essentially it's just, if there's a needle on a record, but it's still digital, that's just what's happening. It's a control vinyl is what they call them.
Okay.
And so that's how it's cool technology, because again, this whole translation happens super fast, where I'm like cutting and scratching on this sound that's not the sound I'm cutting and scratching on, but the computer and the software is quick enough that it translates it instantly, and then you're scratching, whatever you want on your computer, your track, or performing my sounds or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or like I just have digital scratch records, so I can like not wear down my favorite records, because scratching does eventually.
That's a thing.
Wear them down. Yeah, I mean, the good needles don't, but over time, yeah, things get a little more staticky, scratchy. You can definitely hear that.
Are there records that you've bought a bunch of times because of that?
Not as much. I've definitely bought multiple records just because I wanted another copy of it. But yeah, I mean, I still have one of my like original. I mean, I have all my original records, but one that I still like bust out and use, just because it's got like the nostalgia factor. I used it in this battle I was just in, and then even did a recording for some people, like D Styles and his group, which is, I'm super honored about that. But I pulled that one out. I was like, I'm gonna do this scratch solo on their album. Like, I'm gonna use my like OG copy of this scratch record, and like, just that's my own little like Easter egg about it. It's like, oh, I got to use that on the record that I'm gonna be on with him. That's sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But like with the modern technology, so like, I don't know, if you're watching a movie and you hear like a quote, it's like easy to pull something like that if you want to like use that for thrown into a set or scratching with and manipulating.
That's that's the joy of the flexibility of the technology now. Like on my laptop, that is the Serato brain, and it's also the music production brain. It's like, any sample I can pull from anywhere, YouTube, record it on your phone, throw it in the voice memos, drag it in. And I mean, you can either drag it straight in, or like a lot of times I'll take, consolidate some things and make like a little sample pack. Yeah. And then bounce that out, put it into Serato, and then, can kind of jump between the sounds that I want to manipulate that way. Yeah. I mean, but that's, I don't know. I don't have a great system for like, cause all the time I hear something that might be a good sample and I'm like, oh, I'll come back for that. And then I don't. So I probably need a better system for like jotting those down or something.
Is that like, do you feel like that's a way to carve out your voice as far as like maybe even having a voice in some way, is like picking those types of like vocal narrations to chop up?
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's people that like have unmistakable, they kind of cut certain samples in a certain way and you're like, damn, I know that, that's that person. So yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, there's both sides of it. There's one like taking the sample that everybody's familiar with and like freaking it in a way. They're like, oh shit, like that's so and so.
Yeah.
And then another, the flip side of that is digging in and finding your own really cool samples, because not every piece of audio sounds cool when it's scratched, and so it is an art form finding. And then there's subtle production things you can do to audio to make it a little more conducive to scratching. So yeah, people that like put that work in and find those samples and use them, that's really cool. And yeah, I respect that, because I have a certain level of that, but I'm not that deep in that world.
Yeah.
I've kind of made my, I've made a few over the years, and I fall back on those. So every time I dig in and make a new one, though, I'm always happy to have it, and I'll, then it's just in my kind of digital crate. I can pull it out whenever.
So what is like preparing for a session look like for you now? Like maybe for a battle, or like, you just,
Sure.
you won the 2025 Skratcher Award. Like,
I did.
like what is preparing for that look like, or honing in on the craft 25 plus years later look
Right.
like?
Well, yeah. So yeah, that was a recent battle experience, but that was all online. So that's a particular kind of prep, I guess, because it is a performance, because you have to kind of get a one take video,
Yeah.
but you can try as many times as you want because you're at home and you're recording.
Okay.
It's different than being in a live situation, right? Where you just have, well, and it again depends on the battle. There's DMC style battles where it's like this whole performance, and then there really are just scratch battles where it's like head to head. You go for 8, and then like the judges decide. This one was a kind of an online version of that, so as everybody submitting videos. But yeah, to prepare for that, well, one, I went to like the NAMM conference in January in Anaheim. There's a pretty big like gathering of the scratch world down there. So I've been to that before, but wanted to go back this year. And that was really cool and just inspiring, because, it's a very small world up here in the Northwest. But you go down there and you go to that situation, and there's, the international community is there. So that was cool. There's just tons of people. Everybody's into it. And some of the the best dudes in the world are out there. And so, yeah, going to some jam sessions there, like I can hang, but I was like, damn, these fucking guys are shredding. And so that was like, humbling in a way. Like, I know that that's out there. I don't get to interact with that as much here. So it was really, at this point, it wasn't like, oh, I'm not good enough for what. It was more like, oh, that's like fuels the fire to be like, all right, I need to go back and like cut a little more,
Yeah.
Like, I don't scratch every day, sometimes I don't scratch every week. It's not like, and I've gone in and out of times of motivation or whatever over the years, but yeah, that kind of lit a fire under me a bit, because I was having fun, like scratching with those high level dudes, and I was like, damn, I could, I would like to level myself up a little bit.
Yeah, always nice to be within anything. It's always nice to be around people that are like better at the thing, or just like, someone that truly like inspires you, like,
For sure.
whether it's like playing sports or
Absolutely.
doing something creative,
100%. And like, having not necessarily had that a lot up here over the years, like I'm very aware of when I'm around it, and yeah, just kind of soak it in and appreciate those situations. So yeah, that was like, all right. And I also kind of knew I was getting into this like battle, and I knew a bunch of those dudes were going to be in it too. I was like, all right, I need to like, practice a little more or whatever. But mostly that was just very inspiring. And then like ran into and saw D Styles and all the other dudes that are big influences on me, and they were encouraging and like, want me to put music out and stuff. And so like hearing kind stuff from them too was just like, it was a very positive and inspiring adventure down there, kicking it at NAMM. So came back from that pretty inspired, and then this battle started. And yeah, I mean, I did win, which was awesome. So I am the 2025 Skratcher of the Year, world champ, which is pretty cool, for sure. But yeah, it was a 6-round slog through a lot of videos, basically making those videos. Is a bit of a challenge.
How do you know when you got it? Like when you're submitting for something like that, like
it's hard. That's one of the hardest parts I've found, because I've done a lot of these over the years in varying levels of seriousness. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to perform it, analyze it, and do that kind of all in your own little world. You know, it's like, I mean, it might be more confusing if you had more people inputting, you know, feedback or whatever. But what happens to me is I kind of get in this mode where I'm like, I just kind of almost get what I want, and I keep recording. But it's a trap. If you just keep recording, all of a sudden you have 10 or 20 takes, and then you have to go back and look at them.
Yeah.
Figure out which was the good one. They all start to sound the same. It's hard to distinguish. It's like exhausting. So I've gotten into that like weird rabbit hole in years past, and I've learned to not get there. So I have some ways of going about things, but it's still pretty easy to like, you know, if it's just, you know, a lot of times it's like a beat that's a minute long, and it's like you got to do your best scratching over this beat.
Okay.
And it has to be live, no effects, no cuts, you know, no edits, just do it. Yeah. So in the early rounds, like I'm fairly confident, so I didn't, you know, sweat it too much or whatever. But yeah, then I got to the, you know, top 8, top 4, got to the final, and it was like, yeah, those I really, one, I wanted to like do something cool. I wanted to, you know, there is the element of like trying to think what your opponents are going to do and do something that will, you know, make your video stand out a little more.
Right.
So that's a whole other element. But yeah, just like recording the performance is a challenge. I don't know. I've never been like ultra regimented with it, you know, like I do a lot of just like, I'm more about like feeling rhythms and flows than like, oh, I'm going to do this sort of scratch and then this sort of scratch and then this sort of thing. And, you know, and like make like some super rigid performance that if I just got through it, then it'd be dope. I'm more like, oh, I'm, you know, eventually I always end up kind of with a bit of a progression, but every take's a little different.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge to like get the one that feels like it's got all the things in it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's hard.
And you're, like you said, you're kind of doing it in the box. Like there's not like a group of people around you to like kind of fucking bring any of that energy of like, oh, he's
right.
he's
Like that was the
doing
one,
it.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I love recording with people when you're, you know, cause then you can be like, someone will be like, oh, that was, you know, bam, that last one you did, that's a take.
Yeah.
Great. That helps. Cause yeah, I'm my own worst enemy in terms of like overthinking whatever perfectionism. Not that I like even strive for that, but like it just fucks with my head. Like I hear things differently, especially once I've heard them a bunch or like all these 10 different versions of the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very helped, and I thrive on feedback and working with other people. So that's something I love. But yeah, I've certainly been in some battle video rabbit holes where I'm just in there and it's, I'm just annoyed, you know, and I'm just like, I'm not having fun anymore. Like, but I know I need to get this done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sucking the energy out of the thing too, I'm assuming, you know,
and
going
like,
back at it again and again. It's just
over
like,
and over.
all right.
Yeah, exactly. And like, honestly, like sometimes the hands will get tired. So yeah, I've learned not to go, you know, just full throttle, all day on that, or you'll just, it's not productive, you know?
Could you cut the beat for a few counts? Let's see what they can do without the beat.
What else do you feel like maybe helps you get out of your own way in that sort of setting? Because like obviously in the live setting, like you did what you did.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm more comfortable, I guess, in the live setting because when it's, and I mean not necessarily in the scratch battle live setting, but just in the performance setting, I've never gravitated towards like, again, like being the most like impressive or like whatever. Like I just do my version of it, and over time it's become, you know, its own cool style or whatever. So that's more comfortable. But when it's like, oh, I need to like do something that's impressive and like better than someone else, and that, you know, that's hard for me to decide even what to do. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. I just went through a lot of that, and because the battle was like started in January, and it went all the way into March, I think. So every couple weeks I was like having to make another one of these videos, and like I don't, you know, unfortunately I don't have a ton of music time all the time these days, and so Yeah, I was like hella inspired from Nam and like wanted to work on original music, and then I just kept having to record battle videos. but it's all good. It was worth it, and I'm happy with the videos that I came out with. But yeah, there were still ones where it was like the take that I decided was the one. I was just kind of like, I'm not gonna get a better one than this. I don't love this, but this is good enough,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just, I don't know. I'm happy to take a little break from those things. I love scratching, but that's probably my least favorite way to scratch is like that.
That competition.
Yeah, the competitive in my own head about it, like beating your head against the wall trying to get this result or whatever. I don't love that.
Yeah, where like the live battle, you're at least responding to something, right?
Sure, exactly. And it can be, and it's not drawn out. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be over quick, whether you win or lose. And that was one of the things I went to at NAMM was like a live battle. And it was dope and very impressive. Like everybody was going crazy. And shouts to a Portland boy, DJ Flip Flop, won the whole thing. He lives down there now, but he's from up here. One of my old friends from up here. So yeah, he beat everybody. He's incredible. So shouts to Kenny.
Yeah. Tell me about Skratcher Portland and like what you like the community that you're trying to like cultivate there, because like I went to the one this past weekend, dropped in, saw what was happening, and just even talking to you for a few minutes in there, it's like that kind of does seem like the place where maybe somebody that doesn't do that like walks into that shop either looking for gear at Platinum Sound or looking for records, and maybe they see like what's happening there, similar to you walking into that music store from DJ Smooth like early on in Eugene, and like actually getting to see someone doing that shit, and maybe they walk away like and that sets them on that path.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason I do it is because it wasn't a thing that was happening when I was young and like kind of wished it was, or every time I got, like I was saying earlier, like when I got into a scratch session with people, like that's when I learned more, and that's when I got more inspired, and that's when I like connected with more people, whether it was in Portland or Seattle, or like, I would drive up to Portland all the time to come and scratch with Flip Flop and Fat Boy and DJ Void and Paper Cuts and other dudes of that era. Rest in peace, Paper Cuts. So yeah, let's see the whole history. Try to make it short-ish, but yeah. Moved up to Portland and had a friend that I had met performing who lived in Salem at the time. His name was DJ Ozrock, RIP as well, because he passed away a couple years ago. But he was kind of the original person that was like, hey, we should do a session in Portland and make it a scratch session. And I was like, let's do it. And so originally, I think this was like 2013, there was an organization in California called Skratch Pad that was, essentially just doing this, just putting on sessions. And so we became the Portland chapter of Skratch Pad, and we did it once a month before Wicked Wednesdays with DJ Wicked. Shouts to Wicked. So that was back at the Lads Inn at some point, and then at the pub at the end of the universe. Anyway, we did that every month for 2 or 3 years, and that was really cool, and like fostered the community in that way.
Just a bunch of setups, like
very similar to what you saw the other day, where like in that one it kind of it was before Wicked Wednesday, so we had like a kind of a double DJ setup up top where like Wicked would eventually come and start doing, or whoever was performing first at Wicked Wednesday, and we had another set where we play the beats, and down below was the Q&A session setup. And so we'd crowdsource the equipment, people would bring their gear, and we just set up once a month, and that became a cool community hub. But at a certain point it was like it's at like a dive bar, it's 21 plus, it wasn't necessarily open or accessible to everybody.
Wouldn't have been accessible to you as that
exactly
even an 18-year-old kid.
And I met people that were like, I wanted to come to that, but I couldn't go to a bar, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. Anyway, things fizzled out with Skratch Pad, and we weren't sure what to do next. And there had been these guys in Canada doing, this Skratcher brand situation where they were putting on some sessions, but it was a little more of just like, they just kind of made a brand. They made like clothing, made some cool logos and some hats and stuff, and had some shows. And we had kind of an affinity for each other because we were in the Northwest. Also through Seattle, there was another scratch session in Seattle called Skratch Lounge that was a big inspiration. But anyway, yeah, eventually we were like, we want to do something. We want to get involved with someone else. And I reached out to those Scratcher guys and I was like, how do I make Skratcher Portland? And they're like, all you got to do is make it all ages, make it free, and, you know, call it Skratcher Portland, basically. Like, they didn't have strict requirements. So that was cool. And then that was 2017. I did go to NAMM that year, and that's when they were all down there. So I went down there kind of to go to the thing, but also to meet all them. And there was 3 guys that kind of ran it at that time. And, you know, just like see if I wanted to get involved with them and all that. So, yeah, that was all good. And then starting, I think, March 2017, we did monthly sessions at Platinum Records all the way up until the pandemic, basically. So a good 3 years of that every month, once a month on Sundays.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And like, yeah, we had times where a bunch of people came out. We had times where nobody came out. Everything in between. And, you know, some people, yeah, it was cool. But at a certain point, like, and I was working full time doing catering stuff. I was like doing a lot at that time. And sometimes it didn't feel like what I wanted to do on my, you know, 1, maybe 2 day off weekend, was go and like do that whole thing. But I would do it. And without fail, someone would come in and like be stoked to try it out for the first time, or parent would bring in their kid who had heard about it and they wanted to come check it out. Or like just every time some different thing happened that like kind of refilled my cup about the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And so that was always really cool. And so I always left there being like, I'm glad I did that. Even if it was that one kid that came in and had a blast. Obviously, the friends and the DJs, you know, that kind of were the regulars were usually there, and we always had a great time. But yeah, there was always a moment of just like, oh, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then pandemic happened, and we stopped. And then, a couple years ago, I was like, people kept asking about it, so I was like, it's time to bring it back. But I'm just not in a place to do it every month, and I don't think it's even necessary to do every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then actually, unfortunately, like a couple days after I brought it back, my buddy Ozrock was killed.
Brutal.
In a tragic accident. R.I.P. man, that was super sad, but that was kind of crazy. I was glad he got to see the return of it.
Yeah.
Because we had kind of lost touch for a few years there too.
I assume that's like kind of a nice thing when you do these events. Can't imagine you don't like think of that dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because he was like, I mean, yeah,
doing the thing, you know.
We were partners in it for many years. Absolutely. So he was kind of he was like the street team. He'd be out there putting flyers up and talking to people, and he was like a very busy DJ. He was DJing all the time, so he was always just a supportive dude all around. So anybody he messed with, he was supporting heavily. So yeah, he was always putting our name out there and stuff, and that was cool. So yeah, sad to see him go. Absolutely. But yeah, I was glad he got to see the return of it, and he was so happy to be there for that. Yeah, so now it's kind of just been like twice a year or something. You know, I'll do one in the spring, I'll do one in the fall. I would like to do it a little more frequently, but yeah, it's just it's just a 100% me. So sometimes other things are the priority.
Yeah, it's got to feel good for you too, you know, for it to be something good. I think like
for sure. And I want to do it for people that want to come. Like, it's not like, hey, I want to throw a free Celly show. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's for everybody else. So, you know, I'm happy when people want to get involved, and there are some awesome members of the community that are always willing to bring some equipment out, show up early, come help. You know, we had a dude drive from Boise all the way over to just come to the event on Saturday. People came down from Seattle. So we've had, people come from all over sometimes, and that's cool. So, appreciate being able to do that. Platinum Records is a great spot to do it. They're very helpful. They let us use lots of equipment and make it a very like smooth experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think like the key is to like making that a welcoming environment and like maybe not intimidating to someone that is super new and like probably isn't going to like deliver the best performance in that space, but you know, giving them an opportunity in a space where like, they feel good about trying it.
Yeah, that is something I've wrestled with, or like, figured out, after an event where I'm like, damn, like all the shredders were just shredding.
Yeah.
And I could see these kids in the back just watching. Like, I should have kicked everybody off and been like, oh, who hasn't ever come up here before? Come on up,
Yeah.
So at different times I've been better about that than others. So I realize I forget kind of how intimidating it can be to walk into that because I'm so comfortable in those environments.
Yeah.
And also I get kind of stuck. Like you saw, I'm kind of up at the front and I'm like playing beats and stuff. And so I'm not as much out there like socializing with people as they come in and like informing them of what's even going on. And honestly, Oscar Osrock used to be really good at that because he'd be kicking it out there and I would hold down the music and he would kind of, get people in, encourage them to come up. So I need to be better about that. And we did have a bit of that this last one because it was, attendance. There wasn't a ton of people there, so it was pretty chill. So there was a point where this guy was like, "Can I check it out?" And we're like, "Yeah." Man. Kind of stopped everything and be like, "Here you go, dude. Like, try it out. Just don't knock the needle with your hand, And we've had a lot of those moments over the years, which is really cool. And you get someone who can just play around with it. But yeah, we had a bigger one in last September, and there was a bunch of my friends came down from Seattle and they're all like super good. And there was a point where it's like every turntable had just like someone on it who was just going crazy and we're playing fast beats. And I'm like, there's no way some kid that just wants to like come try it out is going to step up in the middle of this. And so, I reflected on that. And I was like, next time I'm just going to like stop everything. And be like, all right, if you haven't been up here yet, come up. And if you have, get the fuck out of here. Let someone else cut.
Because you do need that part of it too, where you do have a bunch of shredders. I feel like because that was also maybe like really inspiring to you early on to like get to see people do it at a really high level, even if you weren't super comfortable where you were at yet. Like, those are those moments where you're like, fuck, I want to get that good.
Right. Yeah. I think again, you have to have a balance of that. Like, and those people that scratch like that, they'll be up there for hours if you don't stop them, so it's, you can have some of that and then maybe take a pause or like take a break, guys. So, that's the thing I've been better at certain times. So I'm always trying to be aware of that or more aware of that.
Yeah. But you're also in a spot where you also have to like play conductor. Cause like you do have to have something, you have to have somebody to like keep stuff on track, or it can just become like chaos if you're like everything's just open, somebody's you all can pick a beat.
for sure. And that's the thing, new people that aren't as familiar with that situation don't, there's kind of we usually go at least in clockwise or count, around the circle in some way so everybody can get a turn. And all the time you'll have someone show up who doesn't really get that and they'll be going out of turn, and that then it's my turn to be like, grab the mic and be like, hey guy, we're taking turns here. Let so and so go first, then you get your turn. There is an element of like regulating it. I mean, I don't always need to do this, but I'm like kind of playing the beats live. Like I'm DJing the beats as opposed to putting on like a looped beat that'll just play for 20 minutes until I change it. And that keeps it a little more interesting. I'll mix them together a little bit and just like has some sort of sonic something going on that's not just a beat and scratching.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that sometimes like I can't do all those things and like run out and see who walks in and be like, what's up, and so, that's just the thing I need to think about as I'm running those events for sure.
Well, I think it's a very cool service to the community, whether you're doing it monthly or like twice a year,
Yeah, no, thank you. It's the thing I always wished I could just show up at when I was young, and it wasn't happening. And so I'm happy to provide it. And again, like even like the other day, it was a beautiful day in Portland. It was record store day. There was a lot of reasons to do other things. And so there wasn't a ton of people there, but still like, some dude got to try it for the first time and like was all stoked about it. Or, this guy who used to come to it and moved to Florida, he came back and he was literally a person who like came to one, I think with a friend, tried it and was like, damn, I kind of like this is interesting to me. And then eventually like he's got a little scratch set up and he's not trying to be out there some crazy scratch DJ, but he enjoys doing it and found that through visiting Skratcher. And so yeah, things like that. It's like, oh, that's super cool. I love that happened. I want to continue making that available to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just keeping the culture alive, because it's it's the niche of a niche. DJing is already its own like weird niche. Scratching and then like real kind of the turntablism aspect of it it's not a very popular thing. So
For
I'm
sure.
happy to keep putting it out there and whatever,
Yes, especially
put some
like
life into it.
Pacific Northwest, it being like a even smaller thing. It's like for some people that showing up there, I imagine, is like as inspiring as it was for you to like go to NAMM this past year, where you're just getting to interact in the flesh with other people doing it and not just in this online forum.
For sure. And like, exactly. And I mean, and the online thing is so weird now too, whereas like the personal interaction, maybe you're DMing somebody or whatever, but it's not like this whole web forum thing where it was like everybody kind of saw every conversation. That was a little more like Reddit or whatever, I guess is now. But I was talking to a guy who's kind of developing an app that's like a music and social app. He's trying to like break through that barrier of like, people might have their private Discord where you can go and interact with them, but it's not like tied to their music. Anyway, it's an interesting thing that I hope will come out later. But he's trying to get back to that like social connectivity and like cultural availability of something like that, like scratching, where you can find a community through a music or an artist and connect with it, as opposed to just booping comments on Instagram or hitting someone up directly. And like, maybe that's a cool way to have a conversation or connect, but it's just everything's so like siloed right now, it's kind of crazy. Sure. And I mean, obviously we all know just the fucking social media and its grip on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, if you want to be a creative, you have to also promote yourself and make videos and
be a brand,
and, have a hook in your video and, have engagement, and, oh no, we can't book you for the show because you don't have enough followers. And it's like, okay, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of old school or whatever, but it's still just fucking grates on me these days. You know?
For sure.
It's like, so I'm not playing the game and necessarily, but I obviously, utilize it because, again, the flip side of that is like, that's how I connected with more musicians and scratchers in the modern day,
Blessing and a curse.
Blessing and a curse, exactly.
For sure, man.
Yep.
Well, yeah, just a pleasure to get to, run through the timeline with you of it, because it is like
a lot of info.
Yeah.
I could.
Oh man, it's just like really inspiring the times I have gotten to see you perform and like gotten to see it in these different forums, whether it's with the live band or you solo or with an MC.
Right on,
it's just like, you're just so fucking, you're so good at the thing, man.
Thanks,
and
man.
like it there is so much feel to it. Like when I've gotten to see you do it, or whether I get to see you like doing it in a video or whatever, like it does feel like you've carved out your own thing with it, and obviously have just dedicated so much time to the craft of it. So
it's definitely become a lifelong passion.
Yeah.
And gone in and out of times of doing it more or less over the years. But this year in particular has been pretty scratchy, which is good. It was cool to win this like world battle or whatever. And then, also D Styles, who I've mentioned several times, has a group called 545, where that's kind of their modern version of doing this live scratch music. It's incredible. It's so dope. And so Rose Tinted played in Vegas actually this year and last year, but January 2025 we played in Vegas, and he lives there and he came to our show. And that was like crazy enough to me to like
so sick.
Look out and I'm like, oh, and we're friends, etc. But like that was still like
still
crazy.
The hero.
Yeah, I mean, and like Meltzer knows who he is. He's like, fucking D Styles, bro, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, man.
It's so sick.
And so and I got talked to him there, and he was like, hey, will you record like a solo for our next record? I was like, what?
Very dope.
Insane.
Hell yeah.
And so I last March 2025 I recorded that, sent it to him, and I didn't hear really anything about it up until about a month ago, and I finally like heard the final track, and it's kind of like a posse cut. of scratchers, like international dope scratchers. And it's just a really sick song. So I'm just super honored to be on that. That'll be on their album whenever that comes out later this year. But even just that is like a full circle, like scratch nerd Sam moment, man. I'm just like so stoked about that. I've always wanted to work with them. I've done stuff and performances with those guys over the years, but just a massive amount of respect and inspiration from and for those guys. So pretty hyped about that too.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, just trying to keep it moving. And like lean into my own music makings. Cause I've been scratching forever, but I've also been like making beats, making scratch music for a really long time. It's just all sitting on my hard drive. So I'm trying to share that more.
Let's hear it.
So,
Get it out, Celly.
I'm working on it. And, continue to connect with more people in Portland.
Yeah.
Cause, through my job and then having a baby and then the pandemic, I was like super duper isolated. Like the social circle just fell apart. So I've been trying to rebuild that over the years and, make more music friends. And just like, I just realized I gained so much inspiration and like energy from just whatever, talking to people about music, working on something with somebody, watching someone work on music.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's what I'm trying to work on nowadays is build those connections, work on my own music and also kind of get out there that I don't just scratch, you know what I'm saying? I like do all kinds of other stuff. I can make interesting music and fucking beats and shit too.
Yeah.
So I have my own world of music that I need to share more. So I think people don't necessarily understand that that's in there.
Don't box him in.
That's right.
All right.
Whatever
Don't
on
box
camera I'm
him in.
looking
He's
at.
not just the scratching guy.
Exactly. I mean, I had a conversation with a dude who's, in my opinion, one of the GOATs, and he would like advise me about that long ago. He was like, "Hey, in my city, like I became the scratch guy to the point where it was like not always a good thing. I wouldn't get hit up for these other things, but they're like, oh, he just cuts, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I can do this, I can do that. So that was like a conversation I had like a decade ago, and I was like, that's cool. And now I kind of was feeling that in the last couple of years, where it's like, oh no, we don't need you to come to the thing because we don't need any scratching. I'm like, well, I got other things to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So anyway, just putting that out there to the world. But I need to share more. I need to get out of my own little fucking hobbit hole. But at the same time, to try and live life, raising a daughter, holding that down, takes time. So doing what I can.
It's cool that you're still having these moments that are like keeping you inspired though, like to keep doing
that's
the
what I
thing
need.
and keep sharing, like whether it's just scratching or making beats or whatever.
For
like
sure.
that's so cool that you're like having these moments. know?
It's been a good year for that. Last year was I kind of had that goal early in the year, and it just kind of became a shitty year for various reasons. That like, I still did music stuff and did a bunch of Rose Tinted shows and we had a great time, but like my own kind of personal music journey just kind of was stagnant. And so it was nice to get all that kind of inspiration in January and come out of that. And then winning this battle was nice, just like a good confidence booster for my own, because I leaned into my style and I didn't necessarily, give into like the fully like battle cut world. I was like, did some funky shit, did some music shit, and people liked it. So that's been nice. Since then, it's been like a nice like confidence booster and just like, hey, just lean into what you do and keep doing that, and share it more.
I think that's kind of like becoming like a veteran of the game too, of like,
oh, for sure,
being more confident to lean into like your thing. And
it's like
placate.
I can't help but do it my way at this point. Like it's harder to do it. Whatever, it would be harder to change, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so it's trippy to me how long I've been doing it, and I'll have conversations with people who've been doing it a long time too, and I've been doing it twice as long or whatever. And it's like they're like, oh, I heard about this thing, and I was like, well, yeah, I was there for that. So getting older is crazy, but having that that experience that I've had over the years with it in different ways, has accumulated in this version of me now that brings a unique voice to the turntable, and I love doing that. I love playing with live musicians and all that, so trying to keep doing that.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time to chat it up with me.
100%, man. Thanks for having me. Very cool. I appreciate it.
Been a pleasure to just to like get to know you more through the conversation and just understand the history of the thing, you know,
Right.
like
Picked apart a little bit of the Northwest scratch history
absolutely. I'll put all the links in the episode notes so people can keep up with you. I'll put the rose tinted stuff up there. I know there's some like cool, like newer live videos sessions that you guys
For
did.
sure.
I'll put that up, and like anything else, like I know people can like see some of these rounds of the battle,
Right.
and whatever else you want me to throw
give you
up
some
there,
links.
you know, I'll make sure people can easily find those things for sure.
Yeah, we did a good got the Scratcher guys have their podcast, but we did like a recap after I won or whatever, and that's a kind of a cool listen because it goes through each entry.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that's what we were going to do, but when I got on, we did that, and we kind of watched every entry, and they asked me questions about it. So that's an interesting insight to like how that whole thing kind of works.
Yeah.
And like my approach, I guess.
If you want to nerd out heavier,
That's exactly.
if you want to
dig
geek
in.
hard, you can get into it.
We'd be geeking hard for sure.
Celly, we end every episode of the podcast with the guest saying the tagline for the show, which is "It's a program." It means absolutely nothing. It's just the way that my grandfather says the word program. So it's just a
like
fun way to end the show. The camera's on the desk there.
I see it
So
there.
one time I will ask you to look into that camera. You can deliver it however you like. I know there's nothing, you can't scratch it out.
I know I should have brought.
You know,
I could have brought a whole setup in here.
Your little mini guy. I've seen you walk around
That's
with.
true. Yeah.
But if we could get the Celly, it's a program, we can properly sail this thing out.
All right. There's the camera. It's a program.
You nailed it, everybody.
Hey.
That's Celly. Links will be in the episode notes. That's the Jelly Jams, and we'll
yeah.
catch you on the flip side, Portland, or wherever you are listening from. Hell yeah, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Did it. Nice.
Faster ain't fast enough.
like